Hello. My question for you today is what is the first thing you do in the morning when you wake up each day? And it might seem like a simple question, like I get out of bed in the morning, of course. But I really invite you to reflect on this because the answer to it, when you become really conscious of it, could change your life. I have my own story about that. I used to be, as recently as 7 months ago, the kind of person who had two alarm clocks. One of them was set 15 minutes fast, the other 10 minutes fast, and they were set to go off right in order so that I could turn one off, to turn the other one on snooze, and have this sort of competition where I would always win over the alarm clock and get those extra few minutes of sleep in the morning. And it just became this ridiculous dance between me and these two alarm clocks for sometimes for an hour in the morning. Um, and that was really how I had gotten out of bed every morning for many, many years, for as long as I can remember. And so in January of this year, when I brought my previous business to an end and really no longer had early morning commitments and places to be, I started to notice that I still wasn't wanting to get out of bed. My body was not um, energized in the morning. And I started to look at how much sleep I was getting and what I was eating before going to bed and what time I was going to bed and what time I was trying to get up, and none of it made sense because I definitely was getting enough hours of sleep. And one day I noticed what happened right when I opened my eyes each morning, and it was that I was immediately going through a to-do list. Now, I was also, since my alarm was on my BlackBerry, I was also immediately, when I opened my eyes, as I hit the snooze on the alarm, since the device was in my hand, I was also checking my email before I even got out of bed. So um, I was already reacting to things that people had sent me, other ideas that were floating into my consciousness, um, other conversations that people were having. They were already being planted in my head before I'd even gotten out of bed. So what hit me is that my body, by staying in bed, in a way was saying, please give me some few extra minutes of stillness and peace and silence and rest from all of this reactivity that's out there, that's always coming toward us, it seems, in this world. And I started to look at that and say, this is what I'm doing to myself. This is what my mind is doing to myself by allowing these things to enter. And my body is saying, no, no, we don't want to live that way. And so I started to develop a new way of waking up in the morning. Totally, totally new. Developed it about 4 months ago now, where I do not hit the snooze and I do not check my email first thing. But in fact, I get out of bed and I do a series of practices that I sort of assembled from various teachers that I've had, yoga teacher, my music healing program, and some life coaches, creativity coaches, who whose tips I've read over the years. And I started to just play and experiment with these things that I knew, when I'd done them in classes, had made me feel very whole and energized and restored and in my body and at peace. And I started to piece these things together and do them in the morning, right when I got out of bed. They were things I found fun. They were things that felt good to me in my body. And they were things that were very easy and that I didn't have to think a lot about, that I could just easily flow through in the morning, because we all know that our brains are sort of, still in a semi dream state right when we get out of bed. And that's great because I think that's a great time to just feel the flow of our breath and connect in. So at first I had to do it really strictly and religiously every day, same time, same sequence, same routine. And I would say after about a month of this, it became second nature. And it was something I cherished. And in fact, I started to feel different and better after just a few days of this, 4 days. I started to be leaping out of bed, and I realized that it didn't matter how many hours I was sleeping necessarily. Some days I would go to bed later and I'd still get up at the same time because I was looking forward to this ritual. And it completely showed me that when you give the body what it needs, it works for you. And our bodies are really our tools of action in this world, and we've really forgotten a lot of what they can tell us, what they can show us. So I make this recording today because I'm frankly going through a little bit of a challenge myself in terms of staying really present in my morning ritual, because I'm feeling like, gosh, I have all these things I want to do, these creative ideas I want to act on. And is there going to be enough time in the day for me to do them all? And can't I, get started a little bit earlier by maybe eliminating some of this ritual? And so I have cut some corners, and I'm finding that this productivity that we're all valuing and we're after, we think that the more items on a to-do list that we get done, the better we are. Old thinking is it's false if we're just doing it simply to get through the list. And when I talk about creating your life, it really comes from that place of peace, that connectedness in your body, allowing mind and body to work together to bring you what your life is intending. It doesn't come from just racing through that list. That list that we've made up in our mind may or may not be what we actually need to do in a given day. So having that check-in point when you wake up, and every day will be different. I've noticed that too. It's like a way to feel like into what's going on for that day, and not to assume that just because you decided the night before you're going to do something the next day that's what needs to happen. So I make this video to recommit to really being present in the morning ritual, and that it really helps find a more authentic place of experiencing your day. And to just remember that the first things that you allow to enter into your mind each day will shape the course of that day. And our lives are made up of one day at a time, one moment at a time. So if you haven't been doing a morning ritual, or you have but have been slipping lately, it's okay. You've got now another chance to start again, and tomorrow another day to renew your commitment to it and to revisit. And it's all about just noticing. So make it a good one and think about what you're doing the first thing in the morning every day.